Hello and welcome, it's Frances here, and I thought in this video I would actually share a passage from my book, Encountering the Dark Goddess, A Journey into the Shadow Realms, and in particular, Kali, the Hindu Dark Mother. I'm actually sitting in front of my personal altar to Kali, with its incense, sandalwood and rose, and its ghee lamp, and a few icons that I've purchased over the years or have acquired. So my chapter on Kali in my book opens with an excerpt from a poem called Kali, and it's taken from Confessions of Aleister Crowley, a magician, mountaineer, and also poet, occultist, and he writes, "There is no light, not any motion. There is no mass or any sound. Still in the lampless heart of the ocean, fasten me down and hold me drowned. Within thy womb, within thy thought, where there is naught, where there is naught." And that might seem a little bit obscure to relate to Kali, but in understanding Kali, that is exactly what she is. She's the Great Mother, the creatrix of time. She's beyond time, and in fact that's what her name actually means. She who is beyond time. She is mysterious, enigmatic. Even within India today, Hindus find themselves either drawn to her and her practices, or they fear her because she's so powerful, so unpredictable. This image that I have, the wall hanging, the bronze one, when I picked it up in a marketplace in Uttarakhand in northern India in the foothills of the Himalayas, I was advised to use it very cautiously because of who it represents. Was I aware that it represented Kali, the Dark Mother? And the shopkeeper was actually quite taken back when I said I was fully aware of Kali. I'd worked with her for a number of years, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted the image. She's awesome. She is a blend of the energies of life and death, and she's also similar to the Greek fates, the Norns from the Norse mythology, only that she is all of the three rolled into one. Shapiva Chopra indicates that Kali's Vedic roots depict her as a fire goddess of dark blue light from the sun, and this is reflected in the dark pupil of the eye and its ability to see. This in turn makes Kali a goddess of the infinite space and eternal time. Her appearance has generated a considerable amount of fear and misunderstanding. She's one of the very few goddesses or deities at all within the Hindu pantheon that have dark black or dark blue skin. She has wild hair and often is depicted in a very aggressive manner, wearing a skirt made of severed hands and dancing on the corpse of her consort Shiva. With her red tongue hanging down from her chin, dripping with blood, it is little wonder that the British colonists decided or considered her to be an embodiment of evil. However, this could not be further from the truth. Her nakedness represents truth that is devoid of any pretense, and her long black hair unbound represents unbounded freedom and absolute truth. The headpiece or crown at the top of her head represents careful control, as all freedom carries a degree of responsibility, or the ability to respond to both our internal and external environments. In her hand she holds a tristle, or the trident, which represents the three gyanas, the energies of nature. A severed head signifies the demise of ignorance and ego. A bowl, or skull cap known as the kapala, which is used to catch the blood from the severed head, blood being the essence of life. And she also holds a scimitar, a sword with a curved blade that represents divine knowledge that slays the ego in order for the state of moksha, liberation from samsara, the constant cycle of life, birth, death, rebirth of the soul, to be obtained. In some images, one hand is downward in a blessing mudra, indicating to those worshipping her with a true heart will be saved by her. Other images have her displaying an upright hand, the mudra of fearlessness. And from her ears, Kali wears the heads of the slain demons as earrings, and around the neck is a necklace of 54 skulls, all of which are smiling due to being liberated from the constraints of ego. And it's interesting that around her neck is the mala of 54 skulls. In the Sanskrit alphabet there are 54 letters. So the skulls each represent a letter. And malas that we use today have 108 beads, which represent 54 masculine letters of the alphabet and 54 feminine. So mala with its 108 is a balance of Shiva and Shakti, divine masculine and divine feminine energies. And as I've just read, Shiva is Kali's consort, and he is the one that she is, and turn around, she is depicted standing on, if you can see in that image, at the base. So, without further ado, we'll move on to the meditation that I have in the book, Encountering the Dark Goddess Journey into the Shadow Realms. So get yourself into a comfortable position. And this meditation I've called Cutting Through Illusion. You want to take a couple of deep breaths into your diaphragm. I like to undertake what they know as the fourfold breath. We inhale for 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4. And then pause for another count of 4 before you inhale again. If that's too hard, do a 4-2 breath. But the whole purpose of breathing deep into the diaphragm is to settle the physical body, calm the mind, and become centered in the physical self, to ground, to find that starting place. And as you settle yourself down, bring your awareness to first your crown, Sahasrara, down to your third eye, the Anjana between your eyebrows, down to Vishuddha at your throat, down to your heart and heart. And if you find your mind wandering, that's fine. Just bring it back to the breath. And back to the visualization. And as you inhale and exhale, visualize, imagine, pretend that you are in a bustling marketplace. Piles of spices and colourful sari wearing women indicate that you are in India. Pause and take in the sights, the sounds, the scents all around you as people jostle past. East of you the sun is shining and growing in strength, and in the distance on the hillside you can make out a walled structure, and as you do you automatically feel yourself being drawn to it. Carefully stepping around the cars and the sacred cows, begin to make your way through the busy yet dusty streets. And somewhere in the distance you hear a bell ringing, as if it is calling you. The scents and the sounds of the marketplace fade as you walk further and further away from it, moving closer and closer to the structure, following the dusty path. Eventually you come to the structure and realize it is a cemetery that is still being used to burn the bodies of those who have died. Run your fingers along the wall, feeling its texture. And as you do, you come to an ornate wrought iron gate. And as you step through into the cemetery grounds, you notice a small enclosure in the stone wall where somebody has placed a bunch of deep red roses. Taking your surroundings again. The scene inside the walled cemetery may shock you, as there are many bodies being burnt, and amongst the smoke, the wails of the mourners can be heard. Ahead of you, through the smoke, you can make out another structure. This time is a tower in the far back corner of the cemetery, and you feel drawn to it. As you walk towards the tower, you do not linger, allowing the confronting sights, sounds and smells to drift over and around you. And once inside the stone building, you realize that it is a shrine to Kali Ma, the Hindu goddess of death and destruction. Facing you is a simple altar, containing an image of the goddess surrounded with red rose petals. And to the left, a golden chalice filled with red wine. In front of the image there is a bowl full of red kumu, the sacred powder to mark the center of your forehead. Kneel before the altar and with your dominant hand dip your forefinger into the bowl and make a mark in the middle of your forehead with the powder. You take the rose from the vase, and as you break open the flower, gently scatter the petals in front of the image. Finally sip from the chalice, and as you replace it back on the altar, you savor the fruity taste on your tongue. From the shadows to the right of the altar, you notice a woman emerging, dressed in a red sari that covers her dark-coloured skin. Catching your eye, she smiles and you're surprised by the whiteness of her teeth. Instinctively, you realize that she is Kali. In one of the many hands, she holds her sacred scimitar, the double-edged sword, and you know that she has the power to slay demons, yet she has the ability to be extremely compassionate. You realize that some of our demons are illusions and fantasies about life. Sometimes we do not see things for what they truly are, or we disguise our own destructive anger from our own selves. You acknowledge that during the times it is often necessary to allow Kali to take his sword and to cut through the illusions that protect us from seeing and acting the truth. The Hindu dark goddess begins to sway and move around you, swinging her mighty sword, cutting through all the illusions that have been created around you, slicing back to the hard-core truth and exposing your authentic self. As she moves around you, the aroma of rose and sandalwood fills the air. Kali begins to slice through negative thoughts and old, outdated emotional attachments. They've been holding you back. And as this happens, you feel a release as these begin to fall away from you. Close your eyes. Focus on the scent. Breathing in deeply and releasing to the process. Feel the negativity release itself from you and its hold upon your life. You embrace the moment when Kali approaches you and slices away the unwanted, releasing you from the hindrances of the past. And as this occurs, you are anointed with an oil that is sacred to Kali, made from rose and sandalwood. And you focus on the scent and embrace the release. After a while, you realize you can no longer smell the rose and sandalwood. And as you open your eyes, you find yourself alone before the altar. Kali is nowhere in sight. You remain seated, gathering your thoughts, and notice that you feel lighter than you did before. Your gaze falls onto the image of Kali on the altar, and you instinctively bring your hands together in a prayer position, bowing your head with thanks and gratitude for what you have undergone. And as you rise to your feet again and leave the stone shrine, carefully making your way back through the old cemetery to the wrought iron gate, you notice the sun is now setting in the west. Its power has decreased. And once again you notice the small enclosure on the stone wall by the gate. And this time, instead of the roses, there is a scroll. Instinctively, you know that this is a message from Kali to you. And as you unroll the scroll, take note of what's written on it, as it is your personal message. When you're ready, follow the dusty path back to your starting place. With each step you take, you become more and more aware of your physical surroundings, of your physical body, of your inhaling and exhaling. And with each breath, beginning to come back to the here